Peace be upon you all. Prep 2. Unit 17. Important discoveries with Wright brothers. First of all, we will discuss together in this unit some important things. We will discuss inventions and discoveries. We read about ancient recipes. We will discuss together past simple passive. We will talk about the history of flight, something like that, and we will make many inventions. Okay, the first thing I will talk about here, something when I come to talk about the history of flight, first thing I will say today, I'm going to talk about blah 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 blah, or the history of flight. I will start by telling you blah blah blah. Finally, let's look at, and these words you must use it when we talk about something. Okay, we'll get vocabulary and grammar. Okay, this is the unit content. Before I say the vocabulary, I want to talk about the ancient recipes. Papyrus from 1500 BCE, and BCE is the abbreviation of before Christ era, shows how soup was made by ancient Egyptian. Fat was mixed with ashes from a fire. The soup was used to wash wool and cotton to prepare the materials to make clothes. Coffee was discovered in Ethiopia in the 11th century. At first, the leaves of the coffee plant were boiled in water. The drink was used as a medicine. Coffee wasn't planted outside Ethiopia until 14th century. From 3000 years, the original recipe from Ethiopia was used. Later, coffee became popular in Turkey. Okay, now the vocabulary, like archaeologist, ashes, original, powder, century, discoveries, envelope, recipe, papyrus, invention, flight, design, hot air balloon, wind energy, and candles. And I want to say what is the difference between these. I give example from each one, like made of. The first envelope were made of animal skin. It's a material. Okay, what about made from? Cheese made from milk. What about made by? This car was made by a famous engineer. Made into. Coffee beans were made into powder. Made in. Most cars are made in Japan. Okay. Before I telling you the different countries and nationalities, I want to say some facts, like the Great Pyramid of Giza was built in 4,500 years ago. The Pyramid of Saqqara was built 4,600 years ago. The world's oldest papyrus was written 4,500 years ago. The first car was made in 1886. Tutankhamun was found in 1922 by Howard Carter. The first text message was sent 1992. The first email was sent in 1971 by Ray. The first envelope were made of animal skin. The telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell. And now we will talk about countries and nationalities. Egypt is a country, but the nationality is Egyptian. Ethiopia is a country, Ethiopian. Turkey, Turkish. China, Chinese. And this is the countries. What about confusing words? Confusing words like invitation, invention, coffee, cafe, coffee, cafe, soup, soup, flight, fight, fire, fur, sail, sail. Okay, and this is the confusing words. After that, we will discuss together the past simple passive, the grammar. We talk about the grammar before as a present simple passive, but today in Unit 17 we will talk about a past simple passive. We began with the object. After that we get verb to be in past plus verb pp, like English was studied yesterday by Ali. We spoke 2 languages in our class yesterday. Here we is a subject, spoke verb in the past, of course. 2 languages are object. In our class it's a complement like yesterday. Okay, first we begin with the objects 2 languages and we look at the verb spoke. It's a past tense. We get verb to be depend on the past, and after we get verb to be where depend also on the objects because 2 languages are plural, where we get verb pp spoken in our class complement yesterday by us. Okay, you understand it? The form? Okay, the form of the question and yes or no question was a word plus object plus verb pp, like were the dishes washed by Mona, or was English studied yesterday by them. What about the WH question? WH word was where, object, verb pp. How was rain made? But when we use who or what, we should use by, like who was lunch cooked by, or what were clouds blown by. The usage of the past passive or the passive, all the passive, we use the passive to the action is more important than who or what is responsible for it. And this is the examples. Now I'm going to talk about the history of flight. I will start by telling you how the first plane designed. I think the first plane was designed by Leonardo da Vinci. Is that correct? That's correct. The first drawing of planes were made in 1480. A plane was designed by the famous Italian scientist and artist Leonardo. The drawing helped people to think about how they could fly now. Much later, 2 French brothers, the Montgolfier brothers, invented the first hot air balloon. This is how it worked. They use a fire to blow hot air into the balloon. The passenger sat in a large basket that was tied to the balloon. The first passenger, of course, because it's an experiment, were animals. The first flight with the people in a hot air balloon was completed in 1783. Many other flying machines were invented after this time. Some worked, but some didn't. Then after years doing experiments with a plane, the first flight was made by the American Wright brothers in 1903. I will tell you something interesting about this flight. It lasted only 12 seconds. And now I hope all of you understand the unit, study hard, and goodbye.